Welcome to Magnetic Living, the channel where ancient wisdom meets modern manifestation. Here, we explore the deeper truths behind the law of attraction through the timeless lens of Hermetic philosophy. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest hidden blocks to manifestation, the ego. You've probably heard that your thoughts create your reality. But what if the thoughts you are sending out aren't truly yours? What if they're being filtered through layers of fear, comparison, and old stories you didn't even choose? In this video, we'll explore what the ego really is, how it quietly shapes your manifestations, and most importantly, how to step back into alignment with the soul, where your desires flow with clarity, power, and truth. So if you've ever wondered why your manifestations sometimes feel stuck, delayed, or hollow, stay tuned. Because once you learn to recognize the voice of the ego versus the voice of the soul, everything changes. The Hermetic magnet reminds us that within every person there is a flame, the soul. Eternal, still, radiant. It is the part of you that is connected to the all, the part that knows who you truly are. But layered over that flame is something else, the ego. The ego is not evil. It's not a villain in your story. It's a mask, an identity your soul wears to navigate the physical world. It gives you a sense of I. It's the part of you that remembers your name, your history, your role in society. Without it, you couldn't function here. The challenge begins when we mistake the mask for the flame. When the ego moves from being a companion to being the driver, everything shifts. Suddenly, your manifestations are not coming from truth, but from a need to prove something, to defend yourself, to be seen in a certain way. Think of it like this. The soul is a still lake, reflecting truth clearly. The ego is like a layer of wind across the surface, distorting, rippling, breaking the reflection. If your manifestations are rising from ego, they are shaped by that distortion. And when the universe mirrors your inner state back to you, what returns is confusion, delay, or experiences that feel empty. In Hermetic philosophy, we learn that as within, so without. This means the outer world will always reflect the state of your inner world. If your inner world is being run by ego, by fear, comparison, or a hunger for validation, then your manifestations can only echo those vibrations. It's not punishment. It's correspondence. Now, let's get really clear. The ego is not your enemy. It was formed to protect you. It carries the stories you needed at certain times to survive, to feel safe, to make sense of life. But those stories are often outdated. They were written when you were younger, when your mind was tender and unguarded. The problem is, if those stories go unquestioned, they become the silent architects of your reality. For example, imagine someone who grew up feeling unseen. Their ego may decide, if I achieve more, if I shine brighter, then I'll finally be noticed. So they begin manifesting from that place. They call in opportunities, recognition, even material success, but underneath it all, the vibration is still, I'm not enough yet. And so no matter what they manifest, it never satisfies. The ego keeps moving the finish line. This is why the Hermetic path insists on awakening. It isn't just about creating, it's about seeing clearly. Seeing which voice is speaking, the soul's still flame, or the ego's restless mask. Because until you recognize the difference, you might be manifesting beautifully on the surface, but always feeling empty underneath. The soul says, I create because I am whole. The ego says, I create so that I can be whole. That single difference changes everything. The ego seeks validation, not alignment. The first way ego interferes is through validation. The ego says, if I have this thing, this car, this relationship, this recognition, then I will finally be enough. But here's the paradox. When you manifest from this hunger, even if the thing arrives, it rarely satisfies. You've probably experienced this before, getting the job you thought would make you happy, only to feel restless a few weeks later. Or entering a relationship to feel complete, only to discover the same emptiness rising again. The Hermetic principle of mentalism reminds us that all is mind, that what you think and believe is what shapes reality. If the belief behind your manifestation is, "I'm not enough," the universe mirrors that belief back, no matter how shiny the outcome. True alignment begins when you remember, you're already whole. The most magnetic manifestations arise not from hunger, but from fullness. Ego thrives on control. It wants the timeline. It wants the details. It wants certainty. But manifestation often requires us to surrender, to trust the invisible rhythms of the universe. Think of planting a seed. The ego wants to dig it up every day to check if it's growing. The soul trusts the process, knowing growth is happening beneath the soil. The Hermetic principle of rhythm teaches us that everything moves in cycles, tides, seasons, breath. There is a time to plant, a time to wait, and a time to harvest. But ego struggles with the waiting, it sees pauses as failure. This impatience disrupts the vibration you're sending out. Instead of radiating trust, you radiate desperation. When you notice yourself overthinking or forcing, ask, am I trying to control this with ego, or am I allowing rhythm to do its work? The universe never forgets a seed you planted. But it grows on soul time, not ego time. Manifestation isn't just about getting things, it's about becoming someone new. To call in a greater reality, you must step into a greater version of yourself. But the ego clings to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. Have you ever sabotaged an opportunity that felt too big, or delayed taking action because part of you felt unready? That was ego protecting the current identity. The ego fears expansion because it feels like death to what is known. The Hermetic principle of correspondence says, as within, so without. If your inner world is filled with fear of growth, the outer world will reflect experiences that keep you small. But if your inner dialogue shifts, if you begin saying, I am safe to expand, I am safe to step into more, the outer world echoes that safety back. Whenever you feel resistance to growth, see it not as failure, but as a signal. A sign that your ego needs reassurance, not judgment. The ego lives in comparison. It looks outward and says, if they have it, I can't. Or, their success makes mine smaller. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that another's abundance is simply proof that abundance exists. It's not a threat, it's a mirror. Comparison drains your magnetism because it pulls your energy outward. Instead of tending your own vibration, you're measuring someone else's. And manifestation is an inside-out process. You cannot align with your desires while staring at someone else's path. The Hermetic principle of vibration reminds us, everything has a frequency. Comparison lowers yours, because it replaces gratitude with envy. Envy sends out the vibration of lack. Gratitude, on the other hand, amplifies abundance. The next time you feel jealousy rise, shift the frame. Instead of, why not me? Try, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me too. Let others be mirrors of possibility, not measuring sticks of inadequacy. One of the most subtle distortions is when ego tries to use manifestation as a tool to control reality. The ego says, I can have anything I want, exactly how I want it. On the surface, that sounds empowering. But without wisdom, it becomes spiritual consumerism. The soul says, I want what is aligned. The ego says, I want what makes me look good. There's nothing wrong with desiring success, wealth, or recognition. The problem is when those desires come from fear. Fear of being unseen, fear of missing out, fear of not being special. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect teaches that every intention creates ripples. When the cause behind your manifestation is fear or vanity, the effect will carry that same frequency. You might get the thing, but it won't bring peace. True manifestation doesn't come from bending reality to ego's will. It comes from aligning with the greater flow, and letting your soul's desires guide the shape. When you manifest from this place, the results feel not just impressive, but meaningful. These 5 distortions show us why manifestation sometimes feels blocked, inconsistent, or empty. It's not that the universe is ignoring us. It's that the signal we're sending is clouded by ego. The more you notice these patterns, seeking validation, clinging to timelines, resisting growth, comparing, or controlling, the more you can pause, breathe, and return to your center. Remember, the ego isn't an enemy. It's a signpost. When you see it, you know you're close to a lesson. And every lesson brings you back to alignment with your soul. Now that we've seen how ego distorts manifestation, the next question is, how do we tell the difference? How do we know if a desire is coming from the restless voice of ego, or from the still, radiant voice of the soul? The first key is energy. Ego carries pressure. It speaks in urgency. It says, if this doesn't happen now, I'm not enough. If I don't get this, I'll fall behind. The soul, on the other hand, carries peace. Even when the desire is bold, the energy around it feels spacious, expansive, steady. You can feel it in your body. Ego tightens. Soul softens. The second key is motivation. Ego is usually motivated by fear or lack. It says, I want this so people will see me. I want this so I won't be alone. I want this so I'll feel safe. The soul is motivated by love and alignment. It says, I want this because it reflects who I truly am. I want this because it allows me to express more love, more creativity, more truth. Hermetic philosophy gives us a compass here. The principle of correspondence, as within, so without. If a desire is ego-driven, the outer experience it creates will echo that fear or lack. If a desire is soul-led, the outer experience will mirror peace and wholeness. Here are a few practical ways to test where your desire is coming from. The soul versus ego check-in. When a desire arises, pause and ask, if this never happened, would I still be whole? If the answer is no, that's the ego speaking. If the answer is yes, and the desire still feels exciting and aligned, that's the soul. The timeline test. Ego panics when things take too long. It wants instant gratification. The soul trusts rhythm. It knows that what is meant will unfold in perfect timing. If you feel yourself grasping, gripping, or spiraling in urgency, that's ego. If you feel able to rest and trust, that's soul. The comparison test. Ego compares. They have it, I don't. Soul celebrates. They have it, so I know it's possible for me too. The moment you notice envy creeping in, you can be sure the ego has taken the wheel. The body compass. Ego-driven desires often feel heavy in the body, tight chest, clenched jaw, racing thoughts. Soul-driven desires feel expansive, like your body opens, your breath deepens, your energy rises. Your nervous system is one of the clearest mirrors of alignment. And here's the most important thing. Recognizing ego doesn't mean banishing it. The Hermetic magnet reminds us that the ego is a protector. It's a child version of you, doing its best to keep you safe. When you notice ego speaking, you don't need to judge it or silence it. Instead, you can meet it with compassion. You can say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose to create from truth, not fear. The more you practice this gentle discernment, the clearer your signal becomes. You'll begin to feel the difference instantly. Ego feels pressured. Soul feels peaceful. Ego wants to prove. Soul wants to express. Ego demands control. Soul trusts the flow. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you recognize ego and return to soul, you refine your magnetism. You tune your vibration more closely to truth. And when your energy is clean, the universe responds with clarity, speed, and grace. When we release ego's grip, manifestation becomes clear. Clean, powerful. Instead of trying to prove yourself, you remember, you are already enough. Instead of controlling timelines, you surrender to rhythm and trust. Instead of comparing, you focus on your own resonance. And instead of chasing hollow desires, you begin calling in what truly nourishes your soul. The ego builds castles. The soul builds temples. Castles are heavy, fragile, always needing defense. Temples? They are eternal. They are offerings to the divine within you. When you manifest from ego, your energy is clouded. When you manifest from soul, your energy is luminous. And the universe always responds to the light. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this message resonated with you, be sure to subscribe to Magnetic Living for more explorations into Hermetic wisdom, manifestation, and living from the soul. Until next time, keep tending your inner world, because as within, so without. And may all that you create be rooted in love,